Oliver bought the umbrella at a garage sale for $2. It was an old-fashioned thing, black with a wooden handle carved to look like a duck's head. The elderly woman selling it had given him an odd look when he picked it up. "You sure you want that one?" she'd asked. "It's been nothing but trouble." Oliver had laughed it off. He needed an umbrella. The forecast called for rain all week, and $2 was $2. He handed her the cash and went on his way. The trouble started the next morning. Oliver opened the umbrella as he left his apartment, ready for the drizzle the weather app had promised. The moment the canopy expanded, the rain stopped. Not gradually, instantly. The clouds didn't part, the sky didn't clear, but not a single drop fell on his street. He looked around, confused. Across the road, rain continued to pour. Cars drove through puddles. People hurried past with their own umbrellas up. But in a perfect circle around Oliver, perhaps 20 feet in diameter, the air was completely dry. He closed the umbrella experimentally. Rain immediately began falling on him. He opened it again. The rain stopped within his circle of protection. "Okay," Oliver muttered. "That's weird." He walked to the coffee shop, watching in amazement as his bubble of dryness moved with him. Other pedestrians gave him strange looks as they got soaked while he strolled calmly through the storm without a single drop touching him. At work, his co-worker Mira noticed his completely dry clothes. "How did you not get soaked? It's pouring out there." "Good umbrella," Oliver said weakly. That afternoon he experimented. He opened the umbrella in his office. No rain in the forecast at all. Within seconds, his weather app sent an alert. "Unexpected rain shower in your area." He looked out the window. Rain was falling on his building, and only his building, while the rest of the city remained sunny. He closed the umbrella. The rain stopped immediately. "Oh no," Oliver whispered. He'd bought a magic umbrella. More specifically, he'd bought an umbrella that controlled the weather, or prevented it, or maybe just inverted it. The mechanics weren't clear, but the effect was undeniable. For a week, Oliver tried to live normally, but the umbrella made it impossible. If he opened it on a sunny day, clouds would gather. If he forgot it at home during a rainstorm, the entire city would flood. But the moment he retrieved it and opened it, his street would become the only dry spot in town. The news started reporting unprecedented localized weather phenomena. Meteorologists were baffled by rain that fell in perfect circles, by sunshine that followed one particular apartment building, by storms that seemed to have a personal vendetta against specific city blocks. Oliver knew he had to return it. He went back to the address where he'd bought it, but the house looked different, older, more run down, clearly abandoned. He tried the door anyway. It swung open. Inside, the house was empty except for one room. In that room sat the elderly woman from the garage sale, looking exactly as she had a week ago, as if she'd been waiting. "I need to return this," Oliver said, holding out the umbrella. She smiled sadly. "I was wondering how long you'd last. Most people keep it for months before they figure out the problem. What is this thing?" "It belonged to my husband. He was a meteorologist, spent his whole life trying to predict the weather, control it, understand it. Then one day, he found that umbrella in an antique shop in Prague. Or maybe it found him. These things have a way of finding the right person." She gestured for Oliver to sit. He did, still clutching the umbrella. "At first he loved it," she continued. "He could make it rain for farmers during droughts. He could clear skies for weddings. He felt like a hero. But then he realized the cost." "What cost?" "Weather is connected, Mr. Oliver. It's all one system. When you stop rain in one place, you cause a flood somewhere else. When you create sunshine here, you steal it from there. He spent years trying to use it responsibly, but there's no such thing as responsible manipulation of nature. Every action has consequences he couldn't predict or control." Oliver felt the weight of the umbrella in his hands. So, why sell it? Why not destroy it? Can't be destroyed. Believe me, we tried. It can only be passed on. And it will only work for someone who needs to learn what it teaches. Which is, the old woman's eyes were kind but firm, that some things aren't meant to be controlled, that nature has its own wisdom, that sometimes getting a little wet is just part of being alive. She stood and walked to a window, looking out at the sky. My husband used that umbrella for 30 years, spent 3 decades trying to make the weather perfect for everyone. It broke him. At the end, he understood. The rain falls where it needs to fall. The sun shines where it needs to shine. Our job isn't to control it. Our job is to live within it. Oliver set the umbrella on the table between them. I don't want this responsibility. Good. That means you've learned faster than most. She pushed the umbrella back toward him. But you can't return it. You can only pass it on when you find someone who needs to learn the lesson. So I'm stuck with it. You're entrusted with it. There's a difference. Use it or don't use it. That's your choice. But choose wisely. Every time you open it, you're saying you know better than the world itself what should happen. Ask yourself if that's really true. Oliver left the house with the umbrella still in his possession. He walked home through a natural rain shower. No magic, no control, just weather being weather. He got soaked. It was uncomfortable and cold, and his shoes squelched with every step. It was also somehow okay. At home, he put the umbrella in the back of his closet. He bought a regular umbrella, a cheap one from the drugstore that only did what regular umbrellas do. Keep the rain off your head without changing the fundamental nature of reality. Sometimes, on difficult days, he'd think about the magic umbrella. He'd imagine opening it, controlling just this one thing in his chaotic life. But then he'd remember the old woman's husband, broken by the weight of playing God with the weather. And he'd grab his regular umbrella instead and step out into whatever the day brought him. Years later, Oliver found himself at another garage sale. A young woman was browsing, looking stressed and overwhelmed. She picked up a black umbrella with a duck-head handle, the umbrella, and asked the price. Oliver, who was selling his belongings before moving abroad, quoted her a number. $2. But I should warn you, it's been nothing but trouble. She laughed, thinking he was joking, and handed him the cash. As she walked away, umbrella in hand, Oliver felt the weight lift from his shoulders. She'd learn just as he had, and maybe, like him, she'd be better for it. The clouds gathered overhead, and rain began to fall. Oliver stood there without an umbrella, face turned up to the sky, and smiled. Some things, he'd learned, were better left uncontrolled. Some storms were meant to soak you, some days were meant to be imperfect, and that was just fine.